You are now tuned in to Hits 92.3, where we take great pride in personal expression of one's feelings, thoughts, or ideals. What you're getting ready to hear on this show are the opinions of the hosts and their guests, and they do not reflect the opinions of Hits 92.3 radio station, the brand, management, staff, their respective advertisers, parent companies, or affiliates. Now stay tuned as this show begins in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Legacy Crypto Builders. I'm your host, Diana Townsend, right here on Hits Radio 92.3. I'm here each and every Wednesday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to dive into the transformative world of blockchains with a purpose. Join us as we explore how today's tech pioneers are building the legacy of tomorrow, one block at a time. Stay tuned. The future of blockchain starts now. Hello, everybody. My name is Diana Townsend, and I am the Chief Visionary Officer here at Legacy Crypto Builders. We're here each and every Wednesday from 12 to 1 talking all things blockchain, cryptocurrency, AI. And I'm excited this week to have as a special guest one of my favorite blockchains in our ecosystem here at Connect United. And that would be, we have our president of Grow United, Mr. Will Taylor. Will, can you hear me okay?
Yep, I gotcha.
All righty, awesome. First of all, I want to say thank you for taking time out your busy schedule and joining us here on Hits 92.3. I wanted to I was looking forward to this. I was introduced to this blockchain earlier this year when we were in Hawaii, and I really had a chance to listen to your vision, to hear where Grow is, what Grow is, what it's all about. And I wanted to bring you on our radio show here so you can just share a little bit with our Hits 92.3 family. But before we get into Grow, I do like for the audience to know who is Will Taylor. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I can. I'll give you a little bit of backstory that'll lead into Grow. So my name's Will. I'm a family man. I'm a father of 3. I got a 9-year-old son, 7-year-old daughter, and a little baby girl that's about 8 months old that kind of feels like the light of our life at the moment. And have kind of spent my life in athletics, health and wellness. I went from playing football and basketball in high school to actually playing rugby, ironically, in college. One of my fun facts is I won 4 national championships as a rugby player after having never played rugby before the first day of walk-on tryouts. I actually tried out to the college team as a joke and ended up making it, and then changed my life. Had a very small run with the trying to make the U.S. Olympic team in 2014 when rugby sevens got reintroduced to the Olympics. And I knew my career was over when the eventual captain of that team stiff-armed me in the chest, pushed me on the ground, and I watched him run by me and go score a try. And that was the end of my rugby career. But what it really did is it opened up a love for really competition, but competition within ourselves of how do we live the healthiest life possible. Going from kind of getting beaten up every day, playing rugby, bad shoulders, a lot of concussions, to how do I repair myself? How do I help myself? And that led into actually owning some gyms. I owned CrossFit gyms for anybody in the audience that's ever done CrossFit before. Ended up owning a couple of them. And in that process, between my wife and I, we started coaching people all over the world in health and wellness. And in that process, healing my own body with food, with good food, high quality and the right amounts, and just seeing the beauty that can bring to the world, which kind of led me on a very crazy journey, which I'm sure we'll get to today of how we got to the Grow blockchain. So that's just a little bit.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit, Will, how did you get introduced to the blockchain? How did you get introduced to the blockchain?
So the reason that I started with the rugby story is I knew this question would come, and one of my teammates who ended up becoming my best friend, his name is Austin Allred, and I'm rocking his sweater today from Royal Family Farming in Washington State. And when we graduated school, he went back and he started running the family farm. They're a third generation farmer. They have about 17,000 irrigated acres, tens of thousands of cows. When he went back, and as I was on my health journey and learning about food and learning how it could help me feel well, act well, and be well, he was doing the same thing on the farm. He started using some really interesting regenerative practices. How could you nourish the soil? And he called me one day and he said, "Hey man, can you help me? We're entrepreneurs here. Can you help me build an app that can actually track and trace and show people what we do on the farm? I feel like we're using all these amazing practices. I feel like the beef that we raise is better than everyone else. I feel like our soil is truly being regenerated, which just means that instead of being depleted of nutrients, you're actually using a system that in a circular way take the nutrients out of the soil to grow a plant, and then use different plants and different methods to put the nutrients that were depleted by growing that plant back into the soil. Can you help me show that?" And so we spent a couple of years building an app called Farm Tracer. And the goal of Farm Tracer was just to bring transparency to what was happening on the farm. Because he felt like if I could show people what we're doing, I think they'll really care. And I think people want to know what's going into their food and where it comes from. And that was the genesis of Farm Tracer. And in that process, I ended up moving to Puerto Rico, not really knowing that Puerto Rico is this massive blockchain crypto hub. When you look at kind of the world as a whole, you've got Dubai and then you've got the Caribbean. And there's some reasons for that. But as I got into starting to understand blockchain and having neighbors, I ended up meeting one of the biggest Bitcoin miners in the world at the time. And he started talking to me about blockchain. And it fit perfectly into what our goal was with Farm Tracer, which was to bring transparency to the world on where their food comes from and what goes into it. And that led me down a deep rabbit hole that I haven't gotten out of, which is blockchain and crypto. And that was about a little over 2 years ago. And in that process, coming into launching the Grow blockchain and bringing in the tech that we had in Farm Tracer into actually leveraging blockchain, which I believe is the future of everything.
Awesome, awesome. So, okay, so you got into blockchain a couple years ago. You didn't know anything about it. Was it hard for you? Was it something that you easily adopted? I know you were surrounded by a lot of people in Puerto Rico, but how hard was it? Because some people, without even doing any due diligence, any research, they tend to judge it and say, this is a little harder. I never heard of this. I'm a little scared of this. Like when you first got started, what was your take on it?
A little bit overwhelming. And like you said, I had some really good mentors. And I think surrounding yourself with people that understand anything is the first step in becoming an expert in it yourself. I just saw a comment come across the screen of shout out to CrossFit. I'm going to use that example for a second. Most people that go into CrossFit have no idea how to move a barbell, do an Olympic lift, a snatch, a cleaner jerk. But that's what that gym is for, is to actually be able to teach you how to do it. And so the people that I got involved with were very, very good at helping us understand the basics of blockchain, the basics of actually using crypto with purpose inside of a project. And so I think from my own experience, I'm in it 2 years and I'm still learning, and I've been deep, deep in it. Deanna, you and I have had some really good conversations in the past around making blockchain simple. And hopefully for the listeners today, we'll be able to do that. But
Awesome.
it really starts with surrounding yourself with people that are in it, that understand it, and then aligning yourself with projects like you started with at the beginning of this that actually have purpose. Are you doing something with the tech? So maybe I can start with this example that comes to my mind a lot. Blockchain is just a technology. And actually what it is for me, the way that I think about it, is go back to Henry Ford. When he was making the first car, there's a quote that's attributed to him that says, "If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses." And right now, when you look at the internet and you look at technology, there are a lot of solutions like Farm Tracer that we had built that really just equate to being a faster horse in the same system. But if you want to understand blockchain at its core, this is the first piece to kind of come in and understand it. We are not building a faster horse. We are building an entirely new system to interact that will change the way in which the world interacts with itself and owns itself. And this is what I mean by that. Web 1, when you think about the internet at its early stages, it was the information economy. And the information economy, you have Google, you have Yahoo, and all of a sudden, at your fingertips, you could go search and you could say, okay, what's the answer to this question? You could get a ton of answers, right? And so all of a sudden you have this information. Well, that led to Web 2, which is actually kind of what you and I are doing right now, Deanna. We are in Web 2, which is the creator economy. We can leverage these internet platforms like the radio, YouTube, etc., to come out and create and become creators on the platform. However, YouTube or a centralized system actually still owns that entire platform. Then you move into Web3. Some of you may have heard Web3 or blockchain. Let's assume for this conversation those are synonymous. Web3 is the ownership economy. And the ownership economy comes in where the users and the people and the producers that are actually creating the platform and building on the platform actually own the platform. And that's what blockchain is. So when I go back to the quote of what are we doing? Well, what we're actually doing is we're building an entirely new system to interact in a digital world. And that system is one in which where the blockchain is owned and operated and runs by the users and producers that actually use the blockchain. And so anytime we start talking about blockchain or crypto, if you can look at it through that lens, then you can start to see and analyze what is a good project and what is the goal of blockchain. Because the goal of blockchain to me at the core, and the reason that I have spent the last 2 years of my life almost every waking hour working on it, and probably will for the next decade, is because it's the system that gives the power back to us as the users and the people that are actually creating on the platform, instead of just building massive centralization. So I'll kind of give a break there, Deanna, but is that we're on a track?
No, that was good. That was good because our audience, it ranges, and I try to cater to people that are brand new to the blockchain, brand new to the crypto space. And I love when we can give them a breakdown and analogies of what that is. And that's exactly what I wanted from this Grow platform because honestly, when I was first introduced to the platform, I didn't understand everything until Hawaii. A lot of people didn't have that experience to listen to you talk. So that was the purpose of me wanting to bring you on here today because I want people to understand what Grow is. I want them to see the value in it. I love when they have the opportunity to listen um, to you talk about it because you're so passionate about it and it gives them the opportunity to make a more educated decision. Is that something that they want to be a part of? Because once I heard you say that, when I got to Hawaii, I did not have that node, but I did not leave Hawaii without buying it because I really seen the value of it. I was able to sit and listen to a lot of the information about the blockchain and to see where it was headed. And I felt like I call it FOMO. I have FOMO, which is the fear of missing out. I was like, no, I'm buying this node before I leave here because I really seen the value of it. So with that being said, can you talk a little bit about the node for Grow?
Yep. So when you have a blockchain, what a blockchain is it's a digital world, right? And so it's a way to see what's happening in the real world and put it in a digital world, which is the internet or Web 3.0. Well, that has to run on something, right? It can't just exist up in out of nowhere. And so we need a processor, a data processor that can actually run the data that's happening on the blockchain. And so that's exactly what a node is. And so a node is a software. If you're familiar with the blockchain world, you might have heard a miner. And so what a node is it does a couple of things. One, it processes the data that we put on chain, and it actually creates the network that is the blockchain. Earlier, when I was giving the analogy of building a new railway, not just faster horses, that's actually the node network. What the node network does is it provides decentralization, and it allows us to run the data that gets put on chain. And as a reward for running that software and running that data processor, you actually mine the native Grow token every single day. So every day that node or that miner or that data processor is running, the reward in that is every single day you get distributed into what would be called your Grow crypto wallet. You get your Grow tokens. And those Grow tokens can then be used for the products and services that are built on the blockchain. And so that's what a node is. It builds that decentralized network, it processes the data, and then as a reward for doing that, it mines the grow token. And the last piece of that is you heard me talk about ownership, the ownership economy. Running a node is the piece of ownership. So sometimes in the old world, when we talk about business, you talk about getting equity in a company. I do not own the Grow blockchain. Our partners and founders don't own the Grow blockchain. We are the same as every other node owner. We just run a node, and we became a part of that network that runs the data that actually powers and runs the entire Grow blockchain. So that's what a node is.
Awesome. So what we're gonna do, Will, we're gonna take a quick little commercial break, and as soon as we come back, we'll pick up where we left off. We'll be right back.
Calling all future content creators, Digital Media Masters is hosting a hands-on podcasting workshop just for teens aged 13 to 17. Unleash your main character energy and learn to create engaging podcasts with StreamYard on your Android or iPhone. Every Saturday from 12 noon to 3 p.m. at Hits 92.3. But act fast as only 4 slots are available per workshop. Sign up today at digitalmediamastersga.com. It's your moment to shine. That's digitalmediamastersga.com.
Thank you guys for joining us here each and every Wednesday from 12 to 1, where we're talking all things blockchain, crypto, and AI. This week, I have the pleasure of having a special guest, Mr. Will Taylor from the Grow United blockchain. And we want to pick up where we left off at. Well, we were talking about the Grow node. You had explained to us exactly what it is. Can you tell us why it would be a good idea for people to purchase the Grow node?
Yep. So I'm going to answer that question with why grow in general, because I think that's a really good place for us to start. And then I'll get back to why run a node and own a node. So our mission and our vision here at Grow is to nourish the world. And so when we look at the world and we look at the ag economy, the way that food is grown and distributed around the world, we think it has become very, very centralized. And so the way to correct some of that is to decentralize the system. And we believe blockchain is the way to do that. So let me give you an example of something that has happened to me in this journey of talking about Grow and trying to make it a viable blockchain. So I've been in a lot of farmers' offices, and I've had a lot of conversations with producers, the people that are actually on the ground with their blood, sweat, and tears, growing plants, raising animals so that we can eat as humans. Well, when I start talking to them about giving their data up, about how they grow that, I've been cussed out and kicked out of rooms. And the reason that is because there's not a trust that there's a centralized system that is purely either driven by an agenda, and that agenda can be pure profit, or that agenda can be something else in a more government regulatory body. There's not a lot of trust in that system of just saying, okay, I'm going to be a producer and then I'm going to give up my power essentially. Well, inside of the blockchain, the producers and the consumers, by running a node, actually own that data. They own what happens via a consensus mechanism to where now we decide. And so I view this as true democracy and inside of the vision of nourishing the world. And I think one of the things that we have to have in that is a belief that as a group of people, we will always rise to make the best decisions, especially if we have unbiased decentralized data. And so that's the goal of what we're really trying to do. And then we look at all of the different ways in which we can nourish the world. And so some of the ways that we're using that on the blockchain right now is using apps like Farm Tracer to track and trace the data that's going into how do you grow food, how do you raise animals, and making that accessible in a way to the end consumer. Another way is we're actually tracking how that food is grown. And there's some things like carbon credits, biodiversity credits that can come up when you use good regenerative practices. And so as a whole and as an umbrella of the blockchain, I want all of us to just think about the blockchain as this system, as this core tech that can be used to decentralize and bring power to both the consumer and the producer in that. And all of that is around running a node. So I do this bet all the time. And I'm going to do it really quickly here. And I can't see all of you, so you'll just have to think. But I presented this to thousands of people. And in this bet, I say, keep your hand raised, raise your hand, and keep it raised if you want me to send you a Bitcoin today. So if you would like a Bitcoin, everybody keeps their hand raised. Everybody would love a $55,000, $60,000 Bitcoin. So then I say, keep your hand raised and think about if you would like to know everything that you ate, what went into it, where it was grown, what the nutrient density and the carbon footprint of it was. Almost everyone. I've actually never had anybody put their hand down at that point. And then I say, okay, think about what you've eaten in the last 72 hours. And if you can tell me the answer to that second question, then I'll send the Bitcoin. I've never lost that bet. My goal is to lose that bet. Like one day I'll lose the bet, and that'll be an amazing, amazing day because of the work that we're doing in the blockchain. And so our goal is to connect producers with consumers, create a trustless system, meaning that the data that goes in, everybody can just trust it. It is what it is. And then we can know what we're putting into our body. I think we're in the middle of a massive chronic health epidemic here, particularly in the United States. And a lot of that has to come down to the way in which our food is grown, what we're putting into our bodies, which is not actually food. And we can change all of that with the blockchain. And so the reason to buy a node and run a node is if anything that I just said, knowing where your food comes from, knowing what goes into it, truly nourishing the soil in the best ways possible, and trying to aggregate all of that data in a decentralized way so that we know what is the best, then you should run a node. That's the best pitch I can give is if you believe in any of that vision and that mission, then the way that we grow this is we have to keep building the railroad system really, really strong. And right now we have nodes in countries all over the world. I have a call tomorrow to launch Australia. I had a call last week to launch in the Netherlands. We're doing a lot of growth here in the United States. And it all starts with that node network. If we don't have a node network, we don't have a blockchain.
Awesome. Are you able to share with us, just say for instance, with Grow, one of the things I like, and when I speak about Grow, I tend to, maybe reference a little bit about Farm Tracer when I say I love the fact that you're going to be able to track from the farm to your fork. Can you elaborate a little bit on the Farm Tracer app?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Farm Tracer goal and the goal of that project is just to provide that transparency from everything that's happening on the farm all the way to your fork. And it's been really interesting as we've talked to more and more producers and some of the biggest producers in the world. They're willing to show us about 80% of what's happening, but they don't really want us to see the other 20%. And to me, that's a problem because there's some stuff going into our food in general that I believe personally is not super helpful and is what's leading to those chronic diseases that I mentioned earlier. And so the goal of Farm Tracer is to reward producers for being willing to use the best practices and then also show it. And so a really cool win for this with Royal Family Farming, everybody knows Amazon. We all probably use Amazon. Well, Amazon, if you're familiar with the NBA team, the Supersonics moved from Seattle to Oklahoma City a while ago, and Amazon bought the arena that they used to play in. And when they bought that arena, they named it Climate Pledge Arena, and they came up with all these stipulations for the food that could go into that arena. And they really wanted beef. The head chef wanted to have beef, but they couldn't find any beef that met and could prove all the stipulations that they had set and the standards that they had set to come into that arena. And so then they met Farm Tracer and Royal Family. And so now Royal Family has, as a producer, is the beef that goes into Climate Pledge Arena. Everything is farm traced. You have a QR code to every hamburger and anything that has meat in there that you can see, which is a really big win. And also for the producer, they were able to make more money. So Royal was able to make more money for selling to Climate Pledge Arena. And it was this really cool system where we saw what we built actually working. Not only did the consumer want it, but also they were getting paid more for the food and the effort than blood, sweat, and tears that they put into growing it. So that's the goal of Farm Tracer, is to be able to provide that.
Well, I'm seeing some fire emojis. I'm seeing some fire emojis in the chat because that is huge. I really didn't know that. Are you able to share with us any other wins that Grow has been able to secure?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the ways that we want to help farmers, and so there's this thing called commodity pricing, particularly in the States. And so what that means is the price of beef, the price of corn, the price of soybeans, they're kind of set at the commodity level. And that means the farmer is kind of owned to that commodity pricing instead of what's actually happening on the farm. So, one of the things we want to help farmers do is to make as much money as possible by rewarding them for using the best practices possible by creating the best food. So, this is the belief that better practices create better food. And my belief, I'll give you an example from the health industry, that transparency is actually the best and first step to creating positive change. So, when I was coaching people to lose weight, the very first thing I would have them do before we had them start eating or working out, I just wanted them to weigh themselves every single day for a week. And after about 2 weeks of doing that, this miraculous thing happened. Most people started to lose weight. Well, the reason that is because when you wake up and the first thing in the morning, you step on the scale and you see what the weight is, well, then you're aware and you think back to the choices that you made the day before. And just that awareness changes the choices subconsciously that you make because you've already set the goal that you want to lose weight. Well, I believe as humans, we want to be healthy. We want to eat healthy food. That's a natural instinct inside of us. It's a survival instinct that we all have. Well, if we are just aware of the food that we're eating via Farm Tracer and the blockchain, we will start changing our habits. That's the same for the farmer. If the farmer is aware that the things that they're doing is actually regenerating their soil or making the atmosphere around their farm better, and they can get paid for it, they will make those actions. And so I mentioned earlier the idea of carbon credits, biodiversity credits, and there's some other things that big companies in the world are willing to pay for in the tunes of millions and millions of dollars. And so what we do also on the blockchain is we help farmers in the process of tracking how they create to actually look at their soils, their atmosphere via satellites, drone footage, and different testing methods to see what they're actually doing on the soil. And then we help them create those credits and we help them sell those credits. And so massive prop to, I know I use Royal a lot, but he's my best friend and we've worked with them for years. They are able to make over $6 million last year selling some of these credits by what they were tracking on their farm. And so when you think about farmers and you think about producers, if you can help them add a bottom line and be rewarded for using better practices, it's kind of a win-win for everybody. So that's another win. I actually have a contract sitting in my email right now with a very, very large company that we will all know that I can't quite say today, but we'll announce shortly, that is going to start using the blockchain to track their entire food supply system.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So let me ask, Will, because I know that the being a node owner and being part of the blockchain, I personally was looking forward to this call because I wanted you to elaborate on one of Grow's products. It is called the FarmBot NFT. Can you talk a little bit about that? Can you explain to the listeners what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe we can just start because I know we have a wide audience. What the heck an NFT is, and I know sometimes we say that. So what an NFT stands for is a non-fungible token, which just means it's a token that can't be replicated. And the way that we use those is we actually hold them in our Grow wallets, and they have an action. And so everything you've heard me say reward a lot. And so what we look at is proof of action. What we want to reward is positive actions. And so what a farm bot is if you hold that NFT, it actually accelerates the amount of carbon credit NFTs that you mine in your wallet. And so let me back up a little bit on the carbon credit side and talk about tactically how this actually happens. So what a blockchain is it's what we're trying to do is track in the digital world actions that are happening in the real world. That's what we're trying to do, right? So something happens in the real world and it gets tracked in an immutable way on the blockchain in the digital world. And so when a farmer takes an action, and that action is, let's use Royal again as an example, he creates a worm farm. And that worm farm, those worms are going to eat the poop of the cows and actually sequester methane and carbon out of the air and then create worm castings. Well, what we do is with our partner Trifera, we actually look at the satellite footage of that, and we can actually prove that the methane in the air is going away. And so it's really cool footage where it was really red and methane-y, and now after the worm farm, it's blue and there's no methane in the air. So that's a positive action, and that action creates a carbon credit. And so because they took that methane out of the air, they are actually acquiring carbon credits. Well, the data that is garnered from Trifera of what actually happened to create that credit, that data needs to live somewhere in the digital world. And where it lives is inside of a carbon credit NFT. And the only way to get a carbon credit NFT from the Grow blockchain is to either mine it and have it distributed as a node owner, or to buy it from a node owner. And so what the farm bot NFT does, if you have that NFT inside of your wallet and you're running a Grow node, then it actually puts you at the top of the list per se to distribute the carbon credit NFTs that will then need to be used and sold to some of the biggest companies in the world so that they can put the data in that NFT of the carbon credits that they're purchasing.
So that means that's a stream of income that could potentially be made.
Yeah. So what that looks like is, let's say I'm, just for example's sake, let's say I'm Walmart, and I know that the best carbon credits, some of the best in the world, are created at Grow Partner Farms. Well, they want to come in and buy these carbon credits, but those carbon credits have to be tied into an NFT that is on the Grow blockchain. So this goes back to the ownership of it. Well, who owns those NFTs? The node owners own those NFTs, right? They own it. I don't own it. The company Grow United doesn't own it. The node owners own those NFTs. And so when Walmart comes in and they want to partner with one of our farms and say, okay, I need these NFTs and I need to put the data in from Trifera into those NFTs, well, they have to get those NFTs from the market of Grow node owners. So they have to purchase them.
I had no idea. I'm serious. I was like, I cannot wait for him to explain this to me, but I had no idea. And I'm a node owner, and I'm a faithful node owner that plugs in and pays attention. I'm glad that you shared that with us, because that was one of the things I was talking to the team about. I said, I got to figure out what this farm by NFT is, but that sounds huge. Is there a max supply of those NFTs?
There are. So we do them in tranches based on the kind of demand that we're seeing. So right now, we initially launched with 500 farm bots, and I don't know what the exact number is today, but I know we've sold over half of them in the first month that we had them there. So,
Wow. Okay, so another product that I see that Grow offers, it says the delivery credit and discount NFT. Can you elaborate a little bit on that one for me?
yeah, so this goes to one of our projects called the Nourish Mart. So if you go to www.thenourishmart.com, then what you'll see is your ability to actually use Grow token to buy that food. And so this NFT just has to do with, if you buy that NFT, you can use that for food, and then you also get a discount on any of our partners' food.
Okay, and that means that it could be delivered directly to your door.
Directly to your door. Yep.
So I
how
live in
cool is
Atlanta,
this?
Georgia. How would I know where that would be coming from? Because we're all over the world.
Yep, it tells you right on the Nourish Smart. So if you go to the nourishmart.com, you look at it and it'll tell you it'll go straight to your house.
Awesome. Okay, so if you guys have questions, make sure you put them in the chat for me, because I am looking at the chat. That way you can ask your questions, because I promise you I'm over here being a little selfish. But these are things I wanted to know as well. I wanted Will to elaborate on. Will, let's talk about the land NFT. I read that there's another product that Grow is offering. Can you elaborate and tell us what the land NFT is?
Yeah, can I combine that with the land and animal NFT and kind of tell you what both of those are?
Absolutely.
So we have a land and animal NFT, and so that's very similar to again, everything, this is a decentralized web 3.0, and so everything that we create on the blockchain needs to come through the nodes. And so one of our future projects that we're working on right now is actually NFTing land and NFTing animals. And so when you look at the number of animals in the world, the land in the world, we want NFTs to be able to put the data in about that animal or about that land and have it live on the blockchain. And the way that it lives on the blockchain is you have to have data that goes on chain. You have to have somewhere for that data to live. And so as we start to create land maps on the blockchain, and then we also start to blockchain more and more animals, those two NFTs can be used and purchased to be able to do that. So if I'm a large farm and I want to NFT all of my animals and all of my land, well, I have two options. I can either become a node owner and get distributed those NFTs myself, or I can buy them from an existing node owner.
That is huge. I'm glad that you're elaborating on that a little bit. For me, I was looking at it and I knew, to me, I don't know, I'm a little biased. I'm not gonna lie. I just feel like even though I don't know everything, my mentality, it's probably the entrepreneur in me. I was like, I'll buy it and I'll figure it out a little later. But I was gonna say, can you give us an idea? Well, like just say for a new person that's just starting out and they're like, oh man, I really love this Grow blockchain, and until I can figure out how the entire thing works, like what would you tell them? Should they grab a single NFT, the land and the animal? Is it something that you're like, no, that should be something that you work up to get as many as you want or need, that it could be potentially, not guaranteed, be something lucrative for you in the future? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I can. So I think all of these things are going to have massive use cases. I live in the space, and granted, I guess I'm kind of behind the curtain on everything, right? And there are so many possibilities of what we're doing. Like we truly are building this new foundation to do a lot of things. And so I get the question a lot of like, okay, when do you think this is going to happen? When do you think this has happened? And I'll just say it's all happening. Like it's all happening very quickly. I've been in 4 countries in the last 2 weeks, just running around, getting things moving. And so I would say I don't know what all the timelines are, and sometimes they change for me because all of a sudden something comes up that's like, oh my gosh, they're ready. This is the thing, like we've got a contract today in my email to do some really really cool things on the credit side. And so what I would say is I go back to, if you believe in the mission and you believe in blockchain and you believe that it can be the real way for decentralization and nourishing the world, then get involved in whatever way you can, whether that's running a node, whether that's just owning a land NFT, whether that's just having a Grow wallet. All of those things move the network forward, and we need as many people doing that as possible. So if all we did today, if every single person that was listening right now got a Grow wallet, if they didn't have one, or if they already have one, they shared it with somebody, that would grow the network, and that would be amazing. And so I think every single one of us come from different places and different abilities to be able to purchase things, and do what you feel comfortable with as you believe in what we're doing. And what I always tell people, including my uncle is a node owner, and I went to breakfast with him this morning, and he was asking me all these same questions, and I said, it's going, and it is. And just the fact that you can run a node, mine a native Grow token, be able to use that token and have food show up on your door. There's no one else in the world doing that right now in the world. Like I've been in this space for a while, and we're the only ones. So there's a lot happening. There's a lot going on, and it's going to change the world, in my opinion.
I'm excited about it. Can you tell the listeners how they can get in touch with Grow, like via social media, YouTube? Like, how can they reach Grow?
Yeah, this is great. So we're in the process of actually updating all of our social accounts to the Grow Renaissance. And so if you look us up on YouTube, Grow Renaissance, Twitter is also the Grow Renaissance Grow right now. And the reason that is I believe that for us to actually change the world and how we eat, how we grow, and how we nourish the earth and the world and ourselves, It has to be a renaissance. It can't be a bloody revolution where it's me against them or us against big or littles versus small or littles versus bigs. We have to come together. And if you look at the Renaissance, particularly the one that we all probably think about, it changed the way that people think. It changed the way that humanity functioned. It changed philosophy. Our goal with the Grow Renaissance is to truly expand and adapt the way that we nourish the world. And I believe we have it with AI, with blockchain, and with our community. We can do some really amazing things. And so the Grow Renaissance is where you'll be able to find us. We're working on Instagram and Facebook. We're just changing our taglines. So right now it's under Grow United, but it will become Grow Renaissance very quickly. And then if you want to follow me, I will be launching my socials here by the end of the month. And that's Don O'Bain Jr., DONOBAIN JR. And I'll give you updates on everything that's happening. And then just make sure you have a Grow wallet because we have an email list. We do at least monthly community calls where we give updates on everything that's going on. And then we have our Discord. So last thing is just our Discord where we do give occasionally more updates on day-to-day happenings and things that are going on with Grow.
And what about your podcast? You just started a podcast, right?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I've seen so much going on. So we have a podcast called the Grow Renaissance Podcast. And that is actually probably the best way. So
it is.
yeah, that's the best way. So I jump on there. We've got 3 live episodes right now. We've got more and more coming up. So listening to that podcast and staying tuned into that podcast is the number one way to stay updated. And it's pretty good, right? I mean, it's good info.
It really is. I'm like, how you forget about the podcast? Okay,
that just proves my point that there's a lot going on. But the podcast is number one. That's where I should have started.
Right, the podcast is fire. So let's talk about really quick. Like some people might say, well, how long has Grow been around? And am I too late to get involved? Can we go back and talk a little bit about when Grow started, which I know back in January, but can you tell us a little bit about the tokenomics and how many nodes there are and where we are right now in that process so people can make an educated decision to say, am I late? Am I in the beginning? Like, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's great. You're super early. So the way that we distribute is we follow Bitcoin's model of halving, meaning that we have a total supply of tokens and then it distributes every year and then it halves every year. So there's 50 billion total supply of tokens. In the first year, 25 billion of those are distributed. And then the second year, 12.5 billion. We're about 3/4 of the way through the first year. So if you're able to, jumping in the next month is prime time because you're going to catch the tail end of that first year of distribution and then go into the second year of distribution. So my opinion is the reason that we have the distribution set that way is there's a little bit of risk for the first adopters. Like when we're launching a blockchain and we're coming in and we don't have a lot of projects going. I mean, the people that came in January, they had no idea when we were going to start shipping food. And then we did it. And so we're very early. We're in the first year of distribution. And then from a node standpoint, there's only 100,000 nodes that can ever be run. And that moves from who kind of owns and operates and has consensus and voting rights on the blockchain. And then you're going to have users. Well, we have about 25,000 active nodes running right now. So still very early. My goal is in 2025 that we get to 50,000 nodes.
Okay, so that means you want pretty much half of the total supply to be gone in 2025.
That's the goal.
Awesome. So just so you listeners understand, we're still in the beginning. We're only 1/4 of a way. And that's good, Will, especially in the first year compared to some of the other blockchains that I've been a part of. I've been here from day one. That is huge for you guys to have done that. And we're not even a year into the project yet. You excited about that?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not biased at all, but I'm totally biased. I'm really happy with the speed at which we've been able to create what we call utility, which is just use cases on the blockchain. And I think we've been able to do that really quickly, and we have a lot more coming. And so the speed at which we execute on this and the speed at which things are happening is pretty fast. And I don't see it slowing down at all.
Awesome. At this rate, it looks like within that, if you continue to go, and this is like still with the unknown, people still haven't had a chance to see what Grow is going to do yet because you came out in January. I think it was like mid January, and you hit that coin market cap kind of quick. I
Yeah,
don't remember the date. Like, do you know how quick it hit that coin market cap?
I don't. We did it fast, and we're working on CoinGecko at the moment. So fast.
Coin Gecko. You got any ETA on that? What your prayer is?
So we're working closely with them. They've given us some standards that they want us to hit, and it actually goes back to the number of wallets that we have and the growth in those wallets. That's part of why I bring that up on this call. So we'll get there.
Okay, so to make sure everybody understands, what we really need help with right now, we need to help Grow get those wallets opened. If you do not own a Grow node, we still can. If you reach out to me and you don't own a Grow wallet, my information is on there. You can go to diana.network and I'm going to give you guys some free Grow tokens. Let me ask another question. Speaking of those tokens, today I noticed there was like um 78,000 tokens that was given in a node support reward. I know they don't know what that is, Will, but something had to happen because that's like a reward that was given to the node owner. So can you tell me where I got the 78,000 tokens from today? Because I was excited. I was like, perfect timing. I don't know where it came from, but it was just a bonus of extra tokens that was given to me for owning the node. And I don't even know where they came from.
Yeah. Yes. So this is a great way to kind of top this off. Is everything we do is proof of action and rewards proof of action. And so Deanna is a great sharer of the Grow network. She brought a lot of people into our network and into our community. And so as a reward for doing that, you're rewarded. And so we have actions, action points, and proof of actions that we take. And so as more and more people are added to the network, as more positive actions are taken, you're actually rewarded in the Grow token. So the more that you interact, the more that you take the actions that we as a community design are positive, the more you're rewarded. And so without knowing exactly, Deanna, I think that those were rewarded because of how much you've shared the Grow blockchain with others and brought people in. And so that's your reward for doing so, which is pretty amazing. On top of just running the node, right? Like that's
On top of it, I was like, oh my goodness. And I started seeing that come. And I was just sitting there and I was like, this is amazing because even though I've been in the community since April, there that was I seen it happen maybe a couple weeks ago. I started to see the increase and the influx and the extra tokens to come in. And so I'm still learning along the way. I still don't know every single thing that happens. Again, when I see the podcast, it allows me to stay up on things. The Discord definitely has a lot of information in there. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted you to come on today because I realized in Hawaii how powerful this blockchain is and seeing how fast it happened. Because for me being here from day one, I watched it take some of the other blockchains almost a year. So for you to come out in January and to hit that coin market cap so fast and at an amazing amount when it first came out, I was like, wow, like this thing is, it's like, I like to say this saying where I say it's all gas, no brakes. That means this thing is moving. And it definitely made me say, I refuse to be left out of this amazing opportunity. So, at the end of the day, I believe in it. I was excited about it. I was looking at listening to some of the things that you guys were talking about and where you're headed with the project. And I wanted to be a part of that because I'm getting older. I do have to watch the things that I eat and be a little bit more conscious of. And I'm proud of the blockchain. I'm excited to have the pleasure of meeting you. It was in Hawaii. So I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you so much for jumping on here with me today, sharing information about the Grow blockchain. Was there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up, Will?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Deanna, and thank you to everyone that's listening. A blockchain is only as good as its community. And when we talk about decentralization and Web3 and having ownership, you have to have people that believe and are willing to run nodes and build the network with you. And so I just always like to end with a big thank you, because it's not just me, it's all of us growing together. And the energy that we're putting into this is actually what's reclaiming the power that we have to know where our food comes from, reclaim our health, reclaim our soils, and truly nourish the world. So thank you, everyone, for being a part of it.
All right, so we'll definitely work on helping you with those wallets as well, Will. So again, thank you so much for taking time out your busy schedule. We look forward to the announcements coming up, and thank you guys to our Hits family here at 92.3. Again, we're here each and every Wednesday, sharing all things blockchain, cryptocurrency, and AI. And we'll see you next Wednesday. Have a blessed week. Bye bye.
You guys.
Tuning in to Legacy Crypto Builders with Diana Townsend here on Hits Radio 92.3. Remember, every Wednesday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're here exploring revolutionary blockchains that shape our future. Continue building your knowledge and join us next week for more insights into the world of purpose-driven blockchain technology. Until then, keep innovating and shaping the future.